different students have different ways or different processes in which they arrive at their design.
Exactly.
So for me, writing was a very important tool. So I remember writing for many days to and not being the person making models or I wouldn't be that person.
So when our books tell that it is for the people, it is something we have to be in their shoes and then design for them, and all these aspects, they start feeling it. And I suppose, Nisha, your firm is doing just that, just perfect way of making these students realize, because there are so many students of mine who have interned with you.
Right.
And you have taken up different projects. You have taken the recent Govandi one which you did. It was almost like, mapping that entire community through its tradition, culture. So important, because these are certain strings which we are losing, and if not now, then it will be very difficult for us to take these footprints.
A lot of empathy is required. A lot of going out there and trying to know, what is happening at the grassroots level is required. And our country is such that we have such a huge population who is suffering a kind of spatial injustice, like just because spatial injustice, because we are architects here.
Exactly.
So it is our responsibility to go out there, and then what are the tools? How do you really understand those lives? How do you do that? You do it through these methods of ethnography, and other methods, of course, also exist. How my programs would align with the philosophical or theoretical position that I was trying to strive towards.
Right.
So for myself, I would find it impossible to move without that position. So hence I couldn't, play with space.
Yes. You had to first create some background as a theoretical background before coming to certain... Copperpod has with us Nisha Nair Gupta. Nisha, a very dear friend of mine and a colleague who has been helping me with academics and a specific field of writing architecture. But she is not enclosed in that frame of writing architecture. She has gone beyond exploring different communities, exploring how design and the heritage and history and culture can be looked at with an absolutely different perspective. We have Nisha here, and I'm so glad to welcome her on this platform. Nisha, welcome.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thanks a lot for taking out time and coming here, because I was really looking forward to have you on this podcast of mine. I remember we discussing so many things when it comes to academics and education. And I suppose you have a lot of amazing thought that can inspire the students to understand how architecture as a profession can be looked through the lens that you have tried to apply. So if you can give a quick briefing about your journey as a student first, and then what you are today, we would love to hear.
Sure. So first of all, I think it's a huge privilege being here with you. And like I said, it's a fantastic medium that you are also exploring. And I'm particularly saying medium because I am somebody interested in media. And to answer your question, which is my journey as a student to the professional I am now. So I remember as a student being somebody who was always interested in words or text. And so even as a part of my design journey, writing was a very important way in which I would try to articulate myself before I would come to designing. So I'm saying that explicitly now because different students have different ways or different processes in which they arrive at their design.
Exactly.
So for me, writing was a very important tool. So I remember writing for many days to and not being the person making models or I wouldn't be that person. And then once I had articulated something, then the design would just happen like in a far quicker way.
So, how, when you say that you were trying to write, what were you trying to create? Were you trying to create a storyline? Were you trying to research? How was it that you were approaching the design?
So I think now that I look back, so I would so of course to write I would read a lot, and so I would be going through different books, understanding programs. But now that I look back, I feel that what I was trying to write was a theoretical position about what my project would try to do in that particular context. So that is what that is what my perseverance with the writing was. And then how my programs would align with the philosophical or theoretical position that I was trying to strive towards.
Right.
So for myself, I would find it impossible to move without that position. So hence I couldn't, play with
Got it.
space.
Yes, yes. You had to first create some background as a
Yeah.
theoretical background before coming to certain.
And now that I look back, I feel that there were some very interesting projects I did in my student years. So for my thesis, what I did was I was looking at a site where public space, a public space program like a garden and a parking space, which was assigned to BST, and how I could collapse the two and create something over there. And I think there was a cultural space component also. So these were the DP reservations of the floor.
Interesting.
And what I did is, and this was a site in Malad, very close to the Infinity Mall, which is there now. And what I did was I sort of read upon like how narratives can play a very important role in understanding the context. So that is where this germ or this ethnographic germ was born, somewhere. And then I spent a lot of time on the field trying to understand who are the people there, created these fictional narratives of how they would inhabit the space.
Yeah. So the design that you would try to give them, how they would then
Yes, yes. So the fictional narrative was first
Yeah.
created and then the space followed.
So interesting.
So that's how that's how I would deal with design.
So how this is how you could imagine that your design would go beyond just the functional aspect of the people using that space, but otherwise also,
Yes.
when it is
True. And I think something that always bothered me even then was where does this language of aesthetics come from? So, coming from a middle class background, not having well traveled the world at that point. So the world I understood was through books and through the presentations I would get in college about, the historic architecture or the different parts of the world and everything. So for me, like so I think honesty was very important for me. So trying to understand where this language comes from, like why is it so relevant to us at this moment, and also making sense of architecture that we're seeing around. So you would on one hand, Bombay has this Victorian architecture, you have the deco, and then you have these PWD architecture in which you are growing up.
Yeah.
So then you try to make sense. And then of course when you're in a design school, I'm sure so many students face this, and this is something I've articulated myself very recently, that you don't know why your professors are saying this is good language of architecture and design.
Yeah.
This is more elegant or this is more nicer. Well, this is not working out. So I feel that, so I used to be in that space where I would not understand. So that is what pushed me into understanding, or, drove me into understanding history of architecture.
Yes.
So where is what we are consuming as architectural language coming from?
Exactly.
So from the whole design path, like I started moving more towards the historical or the humanities or the sociological part of architecture and built environment.
Right.
But then I think that also informed my teaching later. So I think when I went back to the classroom and I see students from diverse backgrounds, where I know like some people come from rural backgrounds, some come from urban backgrounds, but certain kind of urban backgrounds where their socio-economic doesn't provide them the opportunity to, like, how do you develop taste, right? Only by
Right.
exposure.
Exactly.
So then, their backgrounds don't allow them that exposure.
Perfect.
Then you have certain students who come from a better, economic background, have traveled the world, or they come from certain kind of also privileged themselves, where their parents are architects or their parents are well exposed. So they
Exactly.
have so I think we sort of discount these sense of aesthetics which we inhabit by the virtue of the backgrounds where we come from. So then I've got back that to my classroom also.
Yeah, and I especially that thought process of the narratives and the stories or the books or the documentaries. These are the ones who can show them what they have not been exposed to and make them think in a very interesting world or an interesting ideology, which can then they bring their design back to those. So it does help. That's what I have also realized, that when there are this group of students who are not exposed to all these things, and suddenly, of course, as we see movies, we just
Correct.
go into a different world.
Yeah, true.
And this has helped. I have been taking classes in set design, and where I've been invited, and this, even the initial first second year batch of students, you can see the way their thought and the capacity to imagine
Right.
changes, and they start realizing the confidence in themselves. Wonderful. So when you realize that this writing or history, humanities were something which you were getting pulled to, is why you chose your masters. How did you?
So I think at that point, I think this happens in student life. You realize you're developing affinity towards certain skills or certain ideologies, and then you start like you start aligning with professors, or start aligning with faculty who are also similar to you.
Similar to you,
So
exactly.
back in Kamla Raheja, I think I was really fortunate. Like a lot of us who were in Kamla at that point found our space, found our voice, found people whom we could emulate. So we had professors who would, like Kaushik Mukhopadhyay, who exposed us to different kinds of artistic practices across the world.
Right.
Lot of interesting cinema we were exposed to, etc. Then we had Rohan. I'm taking these names because they
Yeah.
were mentors for me, in
Yes.
one way or the other. Then there was Rohan Shivkumar, who had this fantastic hold on theory, architecture theory, which was very, very interesting and very enamoring in that sense.
Exactly.
Then there was
When you're saying it was so enamoring, that means he has made it.
Yeah, totally.
He
Yeah,
he
you with your-
expressed it in the form
Yes.
which you were, because otherwise I remember the architects around 20 years before now. So if you ask them which are the subjects you would like to take, they say, other than humanities, I can take anything.
Yeah.
So there was a huge gap within history of architecture and humanities. It was just considered as a theory subject, something you look at a building and which is not.
Which
It
is not,
It
yeah.
has so much depth in it. And when people like Rohan were the change makers, were the pioneers, in Kamla Raheja, who were trying to bring in that change, and which they very successfully have been able to achieve it. And now we can see in different colleges,
Yeah.
it is being.
And I think that has affected all of us. It is not just those, few of us who were interested in writing, theory, humanities, but others also. Like they might be, very, they might be working in something like project management, or they might be working in something like material supplies, which is what my classmates and my colleagues are doing.
Exactly.
But there is a sensibility, a word sensibility that has developed for all of us, which also filters down to the way we are with our children now. It affects life in such a long term. So, yeah. So then we also had people like Amita Kanekar.
Lovely.
So, who was this absolutely amazing history teacher, and we had Kaivan Mehta, who was also amazing. And so I also feel very fortunate to have studied with them, have met them later as professionals, and also to closely see how their own practices have developed.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
you know, that
Very
becomes
important.
very important to you as a practitioner in future, you know, because you have these people. So I feel
Yeah.
they were sort of forerunners in this space where
Perfect.
they were trying to, Rohan with his engagement with films, and Kaivan with his engagement, and Kaivan and Amita both, their engagement in writing. So, you know, that they become very important models for you later to sort of look at and take
And believe
forward
in
in your
what your
life.
thought
Yes,
process is,
yes,
that yes, even I can.
yes. So it's very reassuring.
Yeah, definitely. So this is how then you started looking for your master's course.
Yes, yes. Sorry, I didn't answer your question. So yeah, so I was really, so I think they were sort of inspirational points for me, and I decided, and I was also good at writing.
Yeah.
So I discovered that about myself.
Right.
So then I thought, and I think I was always bogged with this concern around me that people don't understand architecture enough. So I felt that maybe, so I would take the pain to explain to people around me
Oh.
what is aesthetics, what is architecture, what is the need for an architect. So these were my very early questions, and somewhere in that 20-year-old mind of mine, I felt that journalism is the key. So, if as an architecture journalist, I'm able to write more, and, I am able to bring more awareness and consciousness about architecture, aesthetics, good city life, or good city building. That would be my way forward.
Wonderful. Nisha, I can really see you living that, dream of yours, wherein you had thought this so initially, and right now what you are doing will come to that eventually. But I can see that how you tried to build in those stages which you felt were passionate to you, and you found a way in small steps to make it happen. Wonderful. Yeah, please go ahead. So then,
So yeah, that's how it. And I think in the country at that point, there was only this one
yeah,
option.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel you're fortunate enough you had
I
this
know.
option.
And it was a fantastic course. So I did this course which was called Arts, Humanities and Communication, under which I pursued the journalism program.
And this was
So
in Sep.
It was in Sept, yeah. And in the
2
year
years.
2 years program, 2010 to 2012. And wonderful exposure we got to various kinds of journalistic engagement, like right from print to even digital, etc. At that point, social media had not arrived.
Yeah.
So digital was the space. So we were looking at community radios and different kinds of media, and also very actively that course made us engage with the what do you say, the structure of media through courses like semiotics, art history, architecture history. So that became like a very foundational course in the sense of how to understand, engage with media, and various forms in which you can take your own practice ahead.
Various forms, which is very important. We are not aware of any other forms other than designing it, designing in the sense of design of drafting on board and doing a drawing
Yeah.
and then expressing your thought.
Yeah.
But it is not so. There are different ways through which and forms through which you can express.
Yeah, and there's also the inherent politics of it. So in terms of
Yes.
when you publish a book, what does it mean?
Yeah, of course.
Like, when somebody else publishes you, what does it mean? So, you get a more
important.
Yeah, you get a more sense of all this. That's what I got through my program, and that's it was wonderful.
Wonderful, wonderful. I remember you telling me that after doing this course in humanity, then communication, after finding your passion in writing and journalism and, expressing it through narratives, you began your design firm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you said that I don't know why I started with design firm,
Yeah.
which shows that how much only, designing becomes an aim when we do the 5-year course of art. So everybody expects us to do that. Okay, so have you started designing now? You know?
Yeah.
So tell us something about that.
So when I look back, one is this puzzle, you know. I wonder why I did that.
Huh.
So one part of me says that maybe I was not done with design. That's why, you know, I wanted to design more, and hence I came back and started a design firm. And the second, more logical explanation to it is I wasn't finding suitable jobs. So back in Ahmedabad, when I was doing my course, I was working with Times of India.
Okay.
So I used to work there as a part timer, and over there, my editor was wonderful, and he allowed me the space to explore some kind of architectural writing. So, but the deal was that I also write about arts, you know, arts and culture. So any arts and culture event that was happening in the city, I was supposed to report on that. And at the same time, I got in the bargain, a
Space.
a space in the op-ed section, which is the center page every Sunday to write about architecture. So, he and I collectively decided if architecture, then because it's such a new thing to do in a newspaper, what would you write about? And at that point, I was such a, a person engaged with the whole aesthetics discourse, okay, because it was just out of architecture school and, architecture consciousness. That's what I told you, I think I was all about that. So we both decided to write about homes, because home is something that would connect with a common reader.
Exactly.
And there is a lot of, Ahmedabad is a place where there's a lot of space for architecture to play out.
Yeah.
Practice of architecture to play out, and a lot of
You
wealthy
could
people
get
who are
exactly. So it would be wonderful examples.
Yes,
to explore.
completely.
And somewhere when you see that it is a newspaper, definitely they have to reach more number of people. So they would give a thought in that direction.
you know what is popular, how it needs to be written. So somewhere my skills of writing, journalistic writing, got polished within that space. So I had that opportunity for almost 1.5 years
Oh, that
in
is quite
Ahmedabad.
long.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
but then when I came back to Bombay, I was not really finding that opportunity. So that's also how I think the other reason why I must have decided to go into design.
So true. I mean, ऐसे लगे चलो at least we will begin, till the time we find something, we know that design can happen anytime, take up interior projects or somewhere वो मिल जाते हैं.
Yes. And actually the kind of projects you get are that. In a city like Bombay, you get interior projects, you get offices, again, interior of offices to do. So again, there was a discontent within me when I was dealing with this kind of interior design, and but I think that was very important that I did it, because it allowed me to reflect on Mumbai in a far different way and a far deeper way. So the whole commercial aspect of our industry.
And especially Ahmedabad and Mumbai,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you feel Ahmedabad has so much of a cultural, you won't see too much of a diversity over there. But once you come here, I mean, you must see so many different people talking different and, believing in different things and commercializing, yes, because this being wow.
Yeah, this being a tight city.
Yeah, of course.
Also, aspirationally, how people want to look at design. Then what happens to our profession as architects? We are not designing, a lot of us aren't designing architecture. We are designing these smaller spaces, which are, as I often used to jest with my friends, like theme parks, where, there's a certain mood and certain kind of vibe you want to create, and you design that. You have the skills and the craft, and so you design that. So, and I also started looking at architecture writing jobs in the city. Okay. So then, we had these magazines at that point. But I was not very happy with them, because I felt, what are we writing, We are just writing about some architects who have created, again, this class started emerging in my consciousness in a big way. That what are we doing? We are writing about some interesting second homes, or we are writing about some very interesting interior design projects. And the way we are writing that, it was very descriptive kind of writing, which is
Pompous, just,
yeah. So there was no criticality in the writing. So, and again, you're just out of your masters. You're very idealistic. You want to do something, and this is not really what you want to do.
yeah.
So I think that is also where slowly these initial ideas of what I would like to write or I would like to build within the writing space started to emerge.
Wonderful. I can imagine the challenge, that people with such thought process must be going through naturally. Because somewhere if you see, even when I joined academics, certain things which you feel are very superficial, architecture has a lot of depth to talk of and speak of. So let us do something which can, evoke that. And I suppose that is how then you began with the People Place project.
So I think before we initiated or institutionalized People Place project, we did an experiment. So I had started my studio in 2013, and in the summer of 2014, which is a good year later, we did this workshop. We did this mapping workshop in our studio with students of architecture students. So their brief was to map the city through narratives and through writing. So here in this workshop, I got all my old interests together. One is looking at narratives and narratives as in a more ethnographic sense, and then also journalistic form of writing to translate these narratives into a writing form. So then at the end of the workshop, we've had some 25 stories from different parts of Mumbai, which we had encountered in different places of the city, sometimes in shopping malls, railway stations, Dadar Chowpatty, so a wonderful exercise which sort of threw open the spectrum of looking at the city or rereading the city, if I would say, from a very grassroots kind of
So
lens.
important, yeah.
And then we got a little ambitious. By we, I mean me and my colleagues at that point in my office. So we got ambitious that what if we extend this, exercise a little more, few more months and see what can come out of it. And then we had like 55 stories, which we were, we edited them well, and we thought like, let's publish it and let's see, what happens when we publish it.
Huh.
And that's how, on a whim, we published it. And we, of course, like because we didn't know anything about the publishing world, we worked with consultants who would help us and who, in fact, handheld us through the whole process. So the first book was self-published and self-published by our own studio. And then this wonderful agency called as Authors Upfront distributed and put our books in bookstores, etc. So that's our first venture or, getting into this world of publishing.
Wow.
And then like in a year's time, we decided that what if we use the same framework and explore another city? So by default or by some virtue of me inhabiting that place, the next city happened to be Ahmedabad.
Ahmedabad.
And there I think we spent a year's time
Wow.
exploring, how to. So I think People Called Ahmedabad is one of the well-researched, one of the most intense processes of mapping the place through narratives, doing a lot of workshops with writers, also a lot of focus group discussions with experts, so that we are able to understand, and we are able to inform our curatorial in a much more in-depth way. And that also led to the institutionalization of People Place project, where we thought that maybe, we can, like I thought that maybe it is time to also just like take up research, writing and publication and see where this journey takes us.
Lovely. I want to tell our audience here that we have gone through looking at writing architecture, students writing books, architects, being a part of some magazine and writing about homes and all different aspects. But this, what Nisha has started, is something that she goes beyond the frame of just showing what is what where, but it goes beyond. What I meant is to understand that space, that region, that area holistically through the stories of the common men and the common public and people who are a part, who are such a strong part of that environment. And what better way to understand a city through their stories, right? Because I remember we doing stories by the sea in my college, and these were these young second year students who were, and we took that entire sea coast,
Yeah.
and we took different lenses of
Five villages
five
across.
villages across, and it came up because I feel that the compassion and empathy that the students develop when they interact with these people gives them a different learning altogether, which is so much needed when before they go into designing something. So when our books tell that it is for the people, it is something we have to be in their shoes and then design for them, and all these aspects, they start feeling it. And I suppose, Nisha, your firm is doing just that, just perfect way of making these students realize, because there are so many students of mine who have interned with you,
Right.
and you have taken up different projects. You have taken the recent Govandi one which you did. It was almost like mapping that entire community through its tradition, culture. So important, because these are certain strings which we are losing, and if not now, then it will be very difficult for us to take these footprints. So tell us more about what are the areas other than Ahmedabad. I think you looked at Vasai Virar stretch also. So what is that aspect of your?
Like the students, your college students who interned with me, last year for Govandi Arts Festival, we were invited as, I was invited as a artist in residence for the
Okay.
festival. Yes.
Okay.
So as a part of the work, I decided to work with the community, that is residents from the community, to co-write their stories. So that was also an evolutionary process in terms of how I arrived there, where I felt why it is important that they write their story and not we write their stories. So, so the thing is, if you are aware of the resettlement colonies in
Yes.
Govandi and the M East Ward, largely, like a lot of violent history, in the sense that how they have been dispossessed of their earlier homes, and they have been picked up from different parts of the city, and so-called rehabilitated in those parts. But life over there continues with a lot of difficulty because they are cut off from their earlier places of livelihood, and also the way the design plays out over there, and the upkeep, and the subsequent challenges of living in those neighborhoods is really bad, So the Govandi Arts Festival by Community Design Agency is a wonderful initiative to create a sense of identity, create a sense of community, and they're using arts in a very big way. So that is how they came up with the Arts Festival, and they invited a bunch of us. So when there is a larger program like that, and then we go with our background and our tools of wanting to do ethnographic work, then how do you do it? That's where these questions emerge from, is it our story to say? It is not our story to say.
Exactly.
Then what happens is we as People Place Project, and I as the editor of the work, become facilitators for the project. And we workshop with the community this time,
Wow.
and enable or work with them to create or help them write their own work. So that's what we did. And
That
then
is
we also
wonderful. And the fact that, as you rightly said, when all of them come together, they come with their all the skills, the history, everything is there in that one place,
Yes.
which can be mapped through their stories and, wonderfully. Yeah.
So what has happened is, over time, especially because it has been over 5 years that I have been engaged with this kind of work, which is found in the foundation is ethnography, is the way and the method in which we conduct all our research works. questions keep emerging, as it's like any other field where you keep engaging with your craft, newer questions emerge. So for us now, this question of the relationship between the researcher and the researched is a very important question, because a lot of us as experts, we also tend to appropriate stories for the
Yeah.
for our own narratives. So when just loosely translating this into a design project, where we feel that somebody needs the flyovers, we have invented that narrative because based on the way we have interpreted data or conducted our research and all that. So we have interpreted that for X reasons, we need flyovers to come in the city, or we need certain kind of projects to come in the city. But then, like, one needs to critically start thinking, where does this narrative emerge from? And also, I think as experts, we have this tendency to display a know-allness, So, which is not
Yeah, exactly.
not the case.
Yeah.
So, a lot of empathy is required, a lot of going out there and trying to know, what is happening at the grassroots level is required. And our country is such that we have such a huge population who is suffering a kind
Yeah,
of spatial
obviously,
injustice,
obviously.
like just because spatial injustice, because we are architects here.
Exactly.
So we need, it is our responsibility to go out there, and then what are the tools? How do you really understand those lives? How do you do that? You do it through these methods of ethnography, and other methods, of course, also exist. So yeah, so our space has become about this now, where we are very, very actively reflecting on our own research methods and what is the politics of the research we are putting out there.
Yeah, very important, very important. And as you rightly said, questioning all that we see happening around us and how it is affecting the masses. Who is getting benefited by such developments? And whether then this should be called as developments. Too many questions which we are, as architects, we are supposed to question or reflect on critically, because our design and our aim is to work for the masses, not that one client or one person, who, as you rightly said, is a privileged one who has everything, but how it is going to impact the surroundings, the people around it, and what are you doing with your thought of design is so important. And I think what you have begun has tried to, put in that seed in the minds of these young interns who are working with you, or the fresh architects who try to really see such things through an empathetic lens and, a compassion.
So on that note, ma'am, what I would say here is that built environment is not just about aesthetics, or
Yeah.
architecture is not about aesthetics alone. It's not. It is definitely an aesthetics discourse, but it's also a social intervention. Every time we build, or we are creating, or even we are imagining to build, we are creating an intervention. So it is not disassociated with the society where it is going to go and inhabit itself.
Yeah.
And I think we cannot escape that social responsibility as architects by just engaging in a aesthetic discourse, because that's what our media has come to be now. It is largely an aesthetic discourse where we are discussing what is good design, what is the in design, and things like that. But we are and also we are limiting our sense of responsibility to talking about sustainability or climate friendly and things like that. But they're also interconnected with society at large.
Of course.
So yeah, that's where design plays such a critical role. And in early years in education, critical thinking plays a very important role.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm glad that people like you are associated with academics in whichever possible way that you get through your busy schedule, because it's very important. These experiences which you have gathered for around 15 years, 10 to 15 years, and you're trying to achieve that satisfaction, it is very important to show these avenues to the young students, because after all they are the ones who are going to take it ahead. So I'm really glad that you come to academics, you try to build in your workshops, and try to teach students through that lens. I also understand you're doing your PhD now and you're really multitasking. I mean, that's a huge decision that you have taken with a mom of this young princess of yours and a house. How are you managing?
So I'll be honest, it's very tough. It's very tough. So I don't even want to pretend anymore that it's not like it's very easy, it's doable, etc. I think so. Doing the PhD was again me. I think articulating interests in the sense that I feel no longer I'm a person who wants to build only architecture consciousness anymore. I'm a person who is more engaged in urban consciousness. So to work in media, to build urban consciousness, I need to articulate my understanding and theorization of the urban issue
In more depth.
Yes, in more depth. So PhD is my space to do that. It's my happy space actually, because I enjoy that
Yeah.
space of learning and working on your own self in that sense. But in the the multitasking, one gets away with a lot of help, because you have family, you have hired help, etc., to help you.
Yeah.
So to be honest,
So yeah,
that
these
is all.
are our the
Right.
strengths who can.
Yes. So yeah, otherwise, in some kind of an urban setup like ours, which is a nuclear setup, mine is me, my husband, and my kid. It gets very difficult,
Very task.
and also both of us are working, and my husband is at the peak of his career and working very intensely in his own space. So there are these what do you say, but I would also say that in a way I am privileged, like acknowledge my privilege, because I can shape my work timings, I can shape my work according to what is going on
Yeah.
at my personal end. At least for the last 3-4 years, I have been doing that. So yeah,
Wow. We wish you all the very best in what you're doing, and I'm sure you would achieve great heights with this thought process of yours, and you will give a wonderful example to the youngsters and the fresh architects who are budding right now.
so the thing is, I feel that for the younger people now, and increasingly I see myself giving this advice to a lot of young
Yes,
people whom I find some part of myself in, where
Right.
they are interested in research, or they're interested in per se writing. So especially those who are interested in writing, I tell them it is important that you build a space of expertise about what you want to write about.
Okay. Yeah.
Otherwise, you will be no judgment on it, but you will be reduced to a content writer in the kind of media industry that we are in now. But if you come from a space of expertise, that is, you might have expertise in landscape, you might have expertise in planning, or you might have expertise in material science or something, then you can approach your writing that way. You can add lot more value as into your writing career then. So that is one thing. And secondly, kids who are interested in research, I feel there are such wonderful programs available in allied or liberal education, liberal sciences, right? That's what they call it, yeah. Which one must pursue, which will then allow you to develop more tools
Exactly.
to approach research, because architecture education doesn't equip us for a research career. So then you either do a sociology, or you do something like developmental sciences and things like that.
Yeah, and even there are short courses which can just introduce you to different things, and then you can pursue a master's if required.
And then, of course, your architecture education always gives you the background or the spatial lens to look at these other other fields. So it is always a bonus.
Great, great. Yeah. I had missed asking you the advice, which was so important. Of course, your whole session was, on throwing light on how the students have to go ahead. But normally, this is my question at the last, what advice is. So I am thank you that you really came to that. And it was such a valid and important advice that you gave, Nisha, because, right, as you perfectly said, that it shouldn't remain to content writing because that will not give them satisfaction. They have looked at writing architecture through the process, this 5 years of architecture, and they have gained enough light on what is their compassion and their field of expertise. And as you rightly said, if they choose these aspects and try to write on them on it, they would enjoy it more.
Yes, and I also think so more because, as a young student, you want to bring some change, You, and especially as architecture students, you want to bring change in the world.
Exactly.
So if you work on yourself, like writing is a very fantastic way to bring change in the world. Even research is a very important way and an interesting way to get change. So they can always pursue that.
Right, right. Great. Thank you, Nisha, for being here and sharing your thoughts. I would love to call you again once where we can critically look at certain issues and take your thoughts on how would you have approached this.
Right.
So let us do it with our alumni and you together, and let's see how they are trying to question, because this is something which might give an insight on the current thought process of the youngsters who are just 1-2 years in the
Right.
field of profession, and where you have experienced those and moved ahead. On this note, thank you once again for being here. We'll see you soon again. I'll call you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nisha.